My mother is a proper Bostonian, symphony attending, Jane Austen reading, church-going mother of four. Earliest memories is bailing her out of jail. I'm Jane. Welcome to my channel, Living in the Boston Suburbs. If you are considering a move to the Boston area, this video is for you. I'm excited to share my experiences living here in the Boston area for almost my entire life. I will share with you what it's really like to live here and what are the differences between the different suburbs. Each week I highlight a different suburb, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my next video. And stick around to find out why my father had to take 4 little girls to the Concord courthouse to bail my mother out of jail. Today we're talking about my hometown, Lexington, birthplace of American liberty. It's convenient to Boston, beautiful, and has a bustling town center. Lexington is a community of about 33,000 people, and it's bordered by Arlington, Waltham, Bedford, and historic Concord. We'll get more to that later. Just 13 miles from Boston, Lexington is known for its rich American Revolutionary history. The town's center includes the iconic Battle Green, where the Minutemen battled the British. Remember that poem about Paul Revere riding his horse? Well, he rides right to Lexington Center to let the Minutemen know that the British are coming. The Lexington Battle Green is a great place to learn about American history. You can take a tour of the Battle Green area by a guide with a tricorn hat. You can tour several historic homes and public buildings, including the Hancock Clark House, which is where Paul Revere actually went to notify Sam Adams and John Hancock that the British were on their way. And you can also go to Buckman Tavern and see where the Minutemen gathered before the battle. Here's a fun fact. We actually lost in Lexington that morning in April of 1776. However, they marched on to Concord and we defeated them in Concord. Each year, the town celebrates Patriots' Day around the third Monday in April. And there's a reenactment. So you have to get there early. It's open to the public. Reenactors are there dressed as the British in their red coats and the more ragtag Minutemen, who are mostly farmers that gathered to battle the British. And they reenact Paul Revere riding into town and hiding the trunk with some of the money that they had saved to finance the battle. When I was a kid, we used to get up early and go to the reenactment every year. And in 1776, it was the bicentennial, and Gerald Ford, who was president, actually attended that year. And I actually lived on Mass Ave. So after the battle, all of the Minutemen and the British, who were just, of course, some of our neighbors and friends who are all friendly, would march right up past our house, and then they would stop for breakfast, and then they would march onto Concord and do the reenactment of the Concord battle on the Concord Bridge as well. It's really a great event that every American should try to do. One of the things that I think makes Lexington special is the great facilities. There's a terrific ice rink, so they have a good hockey program, and Lexington is actually the home of the Haydenettes. It's known as the Hayden Recreation Center, and the Haydenettes are a synchronized skating team that has competed successfully nationally and even internationally for years. There's an indoor swimming pool, there are outdoor town pools, and there's even something that we used to call the res, which is the old reservoir, which is basically an outdoor swim hole. People choose Lexington for its proximity to Boston and its outstanding schools. Many professors of MIT and Harvard will live there and raise their children there. So I remember very smart kids being in my class right from kindergarten. And the public schools repeatedly get an A+ rating from niche.com. There are 6 elementary schools. There's Mariah Hastings, where I went, Harrington, Fisk, Bowman, and Bridge. There are 2 middle schools, Diamond and Clark, and there are actually 2 high schools. Lexington High School is the main public high school that I attended. Lexington is also the home of the Minuteman Vocational Technical School, which has an amazing campus and fabulous programs. And it's actually an interesting place where some kids go for tech degrees, and many kids go there and also go on to college. There's also a public integrated preschool called the Lexington Children's Place. So the town center is poppin', and there are lots of different restaurants. One place that I think you should check out is Mario's in Lexington Center. It's not super high-end fancy Italian food. You can get spaghetti and meatballs in a bucket, but it's been there as long as I can remember and has a great small town vibe. Another great place to get food to go is La Dolda, which is also in Lexington Center. And then our favorite thing to do after dinner is to stroll across the street to Rankatori's for ice cream. It's delicious. Not surprisingly, Lexington has pricey real estate due to its proximity to Boston and the excellent public schools. In 2022, the least expensive home to sell was $629,000. It has 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths. Super cute though. And the most expensive home to sell in Lexington year to date in 2022 was a 7,000 square foot, built in 2021 on historic Merriam Hill, which is a beautiful part of town, very close to the center. And that sold $4.650 million. Another great thing about Lexington is the bike path. There's a bike path that goes all the way from Bedford to Lexington to Arlington into Cambridge, where you can hop on the Red Line at Alewife and take the T into Boston if you want to commute by bike and by subway. You can also drive to Alewife, which has an enormous parking garage, so you can always count on getting a train, a parking space and a train. One of my cons for Lexington, however, is there's no commuter rail. The bike path is actually on an old train track. They stopped running the train there years ago. So it's not the easiest suburb to commute to downtown Boston. Over the years, they've had different buses, and there is a bus you can take from Lexington Center to Alewife and then catch the T. Sometimes they'll have a bus pre-COVID that you could go all the way from Lexington Center to downtown Boston. So I would always take a look and see if that's back, because I'm guessing that's going to come back sometime in 2022, 2023. Another con is something that I've observed about many of our suburbs around Boston with very competitive public school systems. The schools are very intense, and Lexington is no exception. So why was my mother in jail? Well, back in 1971, there were some Vietnam vets that were protesting the Vietnam War, and they were marching Paul Revere's path in reverse. There was a rule in Lexington that you couldn't spend the night on the Lexington Green, and the vets wanted to camp there on their way to Boston. Selectmen took a special vote, but they still denied the permission for them to camp. So this upset a lot of the local townspeople. So about 100 people from Lexington joined them in the protest, and it was the largest mass arrest in Massachusetts history, actually, to date. After being tried and convicted and fined $5, they spent the night at the Concord jail, and that is my early memory of my father packing 4 little girls into the car to go bail her out. We are very proud of our mother for protesting. So remember to subscribe for more great stories about life in Boston suburbs, and send me a message and let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to share my buyer's guide if you're relocating here, or to help you with any specific questions about different communities.